It's 5 p.m. here in Lagos, Nigeria. Time for the world today. I'm Joke Rogers. Here's what's coming up within the hour. Former U.S. President Donald Trump speaks to ex-CEO Elon Musk on the platform, accuses President Joe Biden of sparking the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Plus, ex-Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is being investigated for murder following weeks of deadly unrest. The world today begins right now. Elsewhere now, flooding in Yemen has left at least 57 people dead and thousands displaced. The United Nations says more than 34,000 families are affected by the heavy rains, which began in late June and intensified in early August. It was worsened, or has worsened, the country's already dire humanitarian situation as millions grapple with the impacts of a civil conflict that began nearly 10 years ago. Regions affected by the flooding include Hadada, Hajar, Taiz and Marib, with Haidada being among the hardest hit areas. Flooding there has displaced more than 6,000 families and caused widespread destruction to homes and essential services. Roads are closed and access to affected areas remain challenged. A new evacuation alert has been ordered for the Greek seaside town of near Makri as fierce wildfires continue to affect the suburbs of Athens. Those orders were issued today as one person has died, with a body believed to be that of a woman found inside a shop in the town of Relisia, northern Athens. Thousands of people have been evacuated after firefighters warned that homes, businesses and schools were under threat. The huge smoke cloud that lingered over Athens cleared as Tuesday dawned, although the air is still hazy. Helicopters were circling the skies after being grounded overnight for safety reasons. Residents in areas of Athens that haven't been directly affected by the fire said they have found ash settling on their balconies. Politics in Bangladesh now, and though former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is cooling her heels in India, back home, she's being investigated for murder over the police killing of a man during a civil unrest in the country last month. More than 400 people were killed in weeks of student demonstrations against Ms. Hasina. The unrest forced her to flee the capital Dhaka to India after tendering her resignation. According to officials, 6 other top figures under the former Prime Minister's government are also being investigated following weeks of the deadly protest. A lawyer who brought the case on behalf of a private citizen said the court in Dhaka had ordered police to accept the murder case against the accused persons. This is the first step in a criminal investigation under Bangladeshi law. And Spain's civil guard and police have apprehended over 350 migrants who attempted to breach the border between Morocco and Spain's Ceuta. The migrants were detained in the water and on the beach as they arrived. The police officers conducted the operations, removing migrants from the beach and the surrounding waters. This influx of migrants follows one of the largest surges in the area in over a decade. The community, along with Melilla, is one of the EU's only land borders with Africa, making it a critical entry point for migrants. The last major incident at the Ceuta border occurred on New Year's Day, when over 1,000 migrants attempted to scale the border fence in a violent clash, resulting in severe injuries to a police officer. And Africa is demanding 2 permanent seats in the UN Security Council and 2 additional non-permanent seats. This request is coming from Sierra Leone's President Julius Maada Bio, who is president of the council for this month. According to him, Africa cannot wait any longer after decades of seeking a bigger voice in the United Nations' most powerful body. Chairing a meeting that his country convened, President Bio expressed a long-standing bid for African countries to get more council seats, including 2 permanent and potentially veto-wielding spots. It isn't the first time the council has heard calls for expanding and reshaping its membership, and African countries aren't the only ones that want more representation.
Nearly 80 years after its creation, The Council has been stuck in history. Its imbalanced composition is at odds with current realities and unjust, undermining its legitimacy and effectiveness. Africa remains the unquestionable victim. With the absence of structural change, the Security Council's performance and legitimacy remains questionable. Africa demands 2 permanent seats in the UN Security Council and 2 additional non-permanent seats, bringing the total number of non-permanent seats to 5. The African Union will choose the African permanent members. Africa wants the veto abolished. However, if UN member states wish to retain the veto, it must extend it to all new permanent members as a matter of justice.
Meanwhile, at the UNSC, other speakers called for more representation of Africa on the Council, including UN Chief Antonio Guterres, who says the UN cannot accept that Africa's views are undervalued on questions of peace and security.
We cannot accept that the world's preeminent peace and security body lacks a permanent voice for a continent of well over 1 billion people, a young and rapidly growing population, making up 28% of the membership of the United Nations. Nor can we accept that Africa's views are undervalued on questions of peace and security, both on the continent and around the world. Nearly half of all country-specific or regional conflicts on your agenda concern Africa. They are often exacerbated by greed for Africa's resources, which are vital to the global economy, and further spread and aggravated by the interference of external actors. The message is clear: there can be no global security without African security. Meanwhile, African countries are ground down by crushing debt burdens and the lack of financing thanks to the global financial architecture in which they are underrepresented and denied the level of support they require.
The fact that Africa continues to be manifestly underrepresented on the Security Council is simply wrong, offending as it does both the principles of equity and inclusion. It runs counter to the principle of sovereign equality of states and calls for urgency to reform this institution to reflect the world as it is now, rather than what it was nearly 80 years ago.
Welcome back. At least 12 people have been killed in several villages in North Kivu province by militants allied with the Islamic State in eastern Congo. The municipality's mayor, Nicole Kikuku, says fighters with the Allied Democratic Forces attacked people in the village of Mokonia over the weekend, adding that the death toll might be higher because several villagers are still missing. Attacks from the Allied Democratic Forces have increased recently. Last June, the group killed at least 40 people in several villages in North Kivu. It's also suspected of being behind a massacre last year when 41 people were killed, mostly students in neighboring Uganda. Also called Pastor Paul Mackenzie, the leader of a Kenyan cult who allegedly encouraged over 400 followers to starve themselves to death, has pleaded not guilty to manslaughter in one of the worst ever cases of cult-related mass deaths. Mackenzie appeared in court in Mombasa alongside 94 other suspects on Monday. He was arrested last April after 429 bodies, including children, were dug up from mass graves in Shakahola, a remote forest about 2 hours' drive west of the town of Malindi. Most of the bodies showed signs of starvation and assault. The prosecution say that over 400 witnesses will testify over the next 4 days. Prosecutor Alexander Yamina said the case was unique in Kenya and that the suspects would be prosecuted under a law relating to suicide pacts. Well, earlier, my colleague Layo Larinde spoke to Kenyan journalist Cyrus Ombati about Mackenzie's appearance in court on Monday.
And remember, these are cases happening in the courts where it's very humid, and the courts are usually packed with people who want to watch what's happening because of all the number of people who died during the horrible thing that was happening in Shatawala in Malindi, which is also in the coast area. So it has been a case which is pending because this is one of the charges that Mr. Mackenzie and his people are facing. There are almost 10 other charges, including terrorism, murder, abduction of children, child abuse, and many other charges which are very serious. That if and when he's convicted, he'll face more longer kind of jail time in prison.
Well, Mackenzie is pleading not guilty, but there are several witnesses expected in court over the next few days. What kind of testimony could they give that would be considered damning for Mackenzie?
You see, most of these witnesses are the ones who are participating in the either killing or rather stabbing these people who died, or those who are involved in abduction, those who are luring people to the charge. They are players in the whole game, so that's why Mackenzie cannot actually say plead guilty as it's now, because he knows what the repercussion has, because the charges are serious and they'll be jailed for a longer time. So the evidence that people are giving, these are the players who are participating the whole scenario, the whole game which they were playing, stabbing people to death. There were insiders who were in this charge.
Well, Cyrus, have there been instances, where the suspect in a case like this has been acquitted by the law for want of evidence?
In the past, something, but the prosecution has said these are very unique cases. Even if he is acquitted in this case of manslaughter, there are around 5 other charges, which I believe he must be found guilty of. He'll be jailed in the end because this manslaughter itself is starting almost 20 years. And then there's murder, there's the abduction of the children, there's terrorism, which is more serious, 30 more years. Murder is maybe something like a life sentence. So he's staring at a longer sentence to jail. It's not easy for him to come out. And if he comes out and if he manages to come out, he knows that he'll be killed by the mob, by the public will kill him actually.
Thank you so much, Sarah Sombati, Kenyan journalist. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, with emerging technologies like AI driving rapid digital transformation and significantly impacting the global economy, the Commonwealth Secretary General has emphasized the importance of involving young people in this shift. In an exclusive interview with Channels Television at Marlborough House, London, the Right Honourable Patricia Scotland underscored the crucial role young people play within the Commonwealth, an international association of 56 member states, including Nigeria. She also highlighted how the organization is equipping the next generation of innovators with the skills and resources needed to thrive in today's digital world.
0.7 billion people who we represent, 60% of them are under the age of 30. So young people are not just our today and our leaders of today, but they're also our leaders for tomorrow. And so everything that we can invest in them, we are investing in our future. Technology is now dominating our world. It is anticipated that AI will add $15.7 trillion onto the global economy by 2030. And it's critical that our young people have an opportunity to get a slice of that new bounty. And so in the last year, we have particularly concentrated on how do we make sure that all our young people have an opportunity to get that training, to get that experience, to get that knowledge, to get that expertise, because we know there's a digital divide. So that all our AI training is all for free. And this, we hope, will help to bridge the gap between the two. We've got Simply Learn, we've got Intel, we've got so many coming together. We've created an AI incubator, AI for entrepreneurs, AI for women. This is, we hope, an opportunity to make sure that everybody can touch it, taste it, and be part of it.
China's relations with Nigeria continues to grow with various exchange programs and organized trips to the Asian country. Our Foreign Affairs correspondent Amarachi Bani just returned from one of such visits to the country and now reports.
The impression that many people have of China is that it is a closed society, policed by the government, and a place where citizens are unable to freely express themselves. But arriving in the country, one immediately is impressed by the existence of all indicators of a developed society, where people and businesses thrive, and a country rich in culture and heritage. Another impression is the number of people in China. Its 1.4 billion population is spread across the country, but because much of the focus is on the capital, Beijing, other parts are often ignored. China boasts of one of the wonders of the world we live in, the Great Wall, built across the historical northern borders of ancient Chinese states. It was Imperial China's protection against various nomadic groups from the Eurasian steppe. A visit to Guangzhou in Guangdong is where you'll find the largest population of Africans, many of whom are here for business and trade. A visit to the port in Guangzhou showed us it ranks 6th in the country and already runs partnerships with the Lekki DC port. China's hospitality is also shown through the amazing food and various tourist attractions visited by mainly the Chinese people themselves, many of whom are taking advantage of the summer holidays to spend valuable time with family. Amarachi Ubani, Channel Television News.
And finally, Chinese giant pandas have made their official public debut at the San Diego Zoo, becoming the first couple to enter the United States in 21 years. The fluffy black and white animals named Yuan Chuan and Jinbao enjoy green bamboo snacks in their new home as zoo visitors gathered near the enclosure to greet the debutante, with some wearing headbands imitating panda ears to mark the event. 5-year-old male Yun Chuan and 3-year-old female Jinbao arrived in San Diego in June. The zoo reportedly worked closely with Chinese experts to meet the diet requirements of the pandas and to help them acclimatize to their new habitat. That's our show today. Thank you for watching. I'm Shaka Rajesh.